Hello and welcome, guys. We are back with the man himself, SYL Abdul, for the final review of episode 6 of Moon Knight. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, I think it's fair to say, but let's see what we thought about this last episode.
Yeah, it felt like an entire relationship, and like it ended on this episode.
So full of promise, so full of hope. Absolutely, Marvel. You broke our hearts. Don't call us. We'll call you. Yeah.
It's the beginning and the middle, and this is the end. Yeah.
And I can see it now in the comments. Some of you guys are being incredibly negative again. We're not, honestly. We're just poking a little bit of fun. There are things that we actually really did like in this episode, and we'll, as we get to the end, we'll give our kind of final thoughts. But again, this episode pretty much jumped straight in where the last one ended. Last episode was very kind of cerebral. Obviously, it took place pretty much entirely in a different plane of existence. We know that the personalities, in order to get back, they basically one had to be sacrificed in order for the scales to balance. And unfortunately, obviously, because Stephen was the created personality, or so we thought, he is the one that got left behind.
Yeah, a very interesting aspect. This show played with the lore of Moon Knight more kind of fast and loose than I was expecting. Like the different personas and how the characterization. So me and you kind of questioned like last week, like why did he have to really sacrifice? Because that's kind of the Moon Knight character. But it's okay. I'll go with it. Let's see what happens, right? So yeah.
Yes, and that's the one thing I will applaud them for doing, at least in this series. They were willing to kind of at least break the mold that they kind of seem to have gotten stuck in with them. Marvel characters, at least in the TV shows, it was very done beat after beat after beat. Whereas this one, they kind of dialed it back with the characters, but it was much more kind of um, driven by the motivations rather than the action of these particular characters. And I think on whole it did work. There will always be the criticism that in a show called Moon Knight we could have done with seeing just a little bit more of the title character, but I think the upside was we got to see the flip side of the personalities. We got to see a lot more of Mark and a lot more of Stephen, which I'm fine with. I really like both of these characters.
Yeah, I mean the acting, the performances, really carried the series. And hey, I mean, if you're not going to give us Moon Knight, more than 5% per episode at the highest,
Mhm.
5% or less, at least give me a good performance by Oscar Isaac or Ethan Hawke or both in the same episode, and that's
Mhm.
really what carried the series.
What did you think of the lady that played Layla May? She grew on me as a character. I didn't find her nearly as kind of irritating as I think a lot of people seem to. I think she definitely kind of held her own as an actress. The character I don't think was overly used. There are a few kind of wobbly scenes throughout the series where she's suspend belief, I think would be the best way to put it. And later on in the
Mhm.
episode, we do get a big reveal in regards to her. But on the whole, what did you think?
Yeah. Overall, the Layla character, the actress, I thought she did really well. Actually, I remember commending her a couple episodes ago, just her performance of like being in fear, and
Mhm.
I thought like obviously she's like a skilled weaponist or something. So I understand if she has a weapon, she can take out some guys. So never
Mhm.
really had a problem with her doing that. I mean, obviously there was a little push for the strong women approach, so they did use that with her as well. But just overall, no, she didn't annoy me every time I saw her face. Like this is not like Captain Marvel, right? This is not like Brie Larson. So it's like because I was annoyed every time I saw Brie Larson, but it's like with Layla, it was enough. You got the little extra stuff they was trying to do, but she performed really well. I'll give her a passing grade.
Yeah, same. I think as a character, she complemented both Mark and Stephen very well with Oscar
Mhm.
Isaac. I think there was clearly chemistry between the actors, and that makes a huge difference when playing
Mhm.
these roles.
Mhm. Definitely, she did her part. Yeah, definitely.
Just kind of skipping ahead a little bit in the episode, obviously, we know that Stephen was the one that had to be left behind in the sands. He gets frozen, sadly, and Mark then has this opportunity to remain in paradise. But because Mark is the good person that he is, he says, no, I can't do this. I can't leave him behind. And Toette is basically telling him, this is a really bad idea to go back to get this other personality. You're free. You can be at peace now. This is what you've always wanted.
So this is this whole little subplot, 'cause that's what I'm going to treat it as. This has nothing to do with Moon Knight. It's almost like they led us down this path, to a path that we really didn't need for the Moon Knight story. He has multiple personalities. That is the character.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we wasting time on, you can be free of this? But it's like, okay, you want to generalize it for the general audience, and kind of follow this story. I feel like it ended up being a waste of time, this whole journey. Until he goes back and gets Steven. It's just like we wasted time with this.
Yes, because the whole character progression with these two is they're trying to obviously find a way to work together. Now, we'll talk about it at the end when we get to it, but it ultimately doesn't even matter that they finally do find a way to work out these two conflicting personalities. But I thought that this was a really touching scene, where they kind of, he's got this heart, and it's the coming together that symbolizes, and he gets unfrozen, and then they've got this chance to escape, and they have to escape through the gates of Osiris. But in the meantime, we do get our first look at Armet. What did you think of her? I mean, the CGI I've criticised in the past, but I thought she actually looked pretty good. I really like the design of her. I love that her kind of braids flow down into almost like a tail. And she uses it kind of like a whip, and the voice was very regal. I really enjoyed her.
Well, yeah, you're very you love the visual aspect, so I appreciate that. Of Purple really catching all the visual cues. I mean, it was a little in the dark, so I think they helped the CGI with this
Yes.
character, but it was such a build up to this reveal. But like I said, it did not disappoint. I thought it was very cool, and like me, you talk about the interplay with this goddess and Ethan Hawke. I thought it was a really good scene.
Yes, and I think this was probably one of my favorite scenes in the episode, where she's kind of finally released, and she says, "Who released me?" And obviously Harrow said it was I, and she says, "Rise, my avatar," and he ultimately finds out that he's still not balanced. Technically, he is not worthy to be her avatar. And I love that they went down the route of, he was so kind of committed to this that he was willing to be killed, basically, because he didn't live up to the ideal of what she set. But Armet is a little bit hypocritical, so she's more than willing to kind of overlook that because he is still useful to her.
Yeah, Harrow is a true cultist, which can be admirable and dangerous at the same time. And so he was committed to the mission, just to what's going to finish this mission. I released you. I'm not worthy. Get another avatar. And she's like, nah, you did a lot of work, bro. So we can use you. So Ethan Hawke again, perfect in this scene.
He is. He's fast becoming one of my favourite actors. I think it's great that he's getting more roles now. So really happy to see that. In the meantime, we've got Khonshu, who has been released by Layla, who is kind of going up against Armet. And I think it's fair to say that pretty much none of the gods are particularly nice characters. Khonshu is a really kind of spiteful character. He tries to entice Layla into being his new avatar, and I'm really, really glad that she turned him down, because I would have hated for her to take on the mantle of Moon Knight.
No one wanted to see this happen. Like when they teased it, like I think it was episode 2. Khonshu told Mark, "Yo, if you don't do this, my next choice is Layla, bro." And Mark's like, "Nah, we don't want to do that." So Layla again was like, "Nah, I ain't doing that either." But you know what? It was really nice to see Khonshu back. I'm just saying, I know he's a jerk. Maybe could be a jerk sometimes. I like Khonshu, and I was glad to see him back.
I've got a soft spot for him, and the voice actor that they gave him is absolutely perfect. Couldn't imagine a better voice for this character. But we did have a couple of hiccups because your favourite character was back as well. Uh, you're not a fan of Mr. Nice, at least not this version of Mr. Nice, are you? Because he's used very much for comedic purposes. And once again, I think it was it episode 3 where he kind of flips back and forth between Moon Knight and Mr. Knight, and it really takes you out of the scene.
Yeah, it's like that whole approach, and whether that's writing. I mean, I gotta blame it on the writing. That just was a terrible way to kind of juxtapose, the Moon Knight proper with Mr. Knight. I love the reveal of Mr. Knight in episode 2. I raved about it. I was on Purple Channel when I raved about that reveal, but it's just the whole use of a joke. It really takes me out of scenes, and they do it again later.
They do, and we were talking about how it was great that Layla doesn't become the new Moon Knight, but she does become somebody's avatar, and she reluctantly agrees to be Towete's avatar, so she kind of becomes a superhero in her own right. I'll bring up the shot of her when she's kind of in costume. I liked the design of the costume. I thought it was pretty cool. The CGI in the wings is a little bit distracting. I think if it had been slightly more polished, I think it would have been perfect. But can we just talk about this scene? People in the MCU so kind of jaded and blasé that there's this huge fight between a giant crocodile and a chicken, and nobody really pays any attention to it.
I mean, they should have called the Avengers right here.
Nobody cares. They just let these two kind of fight at the pyramids. It's a great scene because obviously they're trying to one up each other, and they're spouting philosophical dialogue back at each other and trying to justify why Ahmet should be allowed to take the souls of those who are going to sin, and Khonshu saying no, that you can't judge them before they've done it. It's a very interesting back and forth, but I just found it really funny that nobody seemed to care.
Yeah, I mean, if you think in the MCU, like people like blipped away for 5 years and came back, they're like, whatever. There's two gods fighting. Like, okay.
So much crazy shit has happened. We just don't care about this. Just does not do it for us anymore. And let me see if I can get this to play. So this is the reveal. I quite like it. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's good. Kind of remind me of kind of like Wonder Woman, 1984 with the wings. It was that sort of look. And there is a scene a little bit later on where she's kind of shielding herself from bullets. Fortunately, they're only shooting her upper half. They're not shooting at her legs.
Well, it's a little plot armor right there, literally for Layla. But no, Layla looks great, right? I love. I saw people making comments on social media, like, it's always a representation factor. Like, we just got every show, we just got to accept someone's gonna feel some representation, or it's gonna be something for them. And actually, I'm not mad at this. Girls with curly hair, they were loving Layla. As a superhero. So I was like, that's really cool. I did get that Wonder Woman 84 vibes a little bit, which is not the best compared, like mentally, that's the best thing. But DC fans like, like MCU did Hawk Girl before DC. So they beat DC again. So I guess it's a win all the way around for Marvel right there.
We'll put that in the Marvel column, absolutely. Were you surprised that Harrow didn't get a costume? Because that's what I was expecting. Because obviously he's now Ahmet's avatar. He gets this very powerful axe that he can shoot out of that can kind of steal people's souls. But he's still dressed basically in his civilian costume.
Yeah, I think Ethan Hawke was like, "Nah, I ain't doing that shit. I'm Ethan Hawke.
I don't need that.
Yeah, I accept that totally."
But I was kind of surprised by the end battle. Obviously, we've got the two gods going at it in the background, vying to kind of take each other down, and then we've got the avatars fighting as well. And at one point, Ethan Hawke gets the upper hand. He manages to pin Layla to a car, I think it is, by deflecting one of Mark's blades. And this is the bit that I hated because it was such a cop out. So basically, we get to the point where we think that our heroes are going to lose, and the next thing you know, there's a kind of time slip, or he has these freakouts that we've seen him have in the past, and when he comes back to himself, everybody is dead. Everybody's been taken out apart from Harrow, who is apparently unconscious, and the battle's over.
Oh man, I tell you, like this has been the since episode 1. They've been doing this, and it would have been nice to, just again to get the actual reveal within the show proper, not any post credit scene, like what's going on when he blanks out and it's not Mark or Steven. Okay. All right.
The one thing I did like is obviously because he uses a spell, or Layla uses a spell. They managed to trap Amit's spirit within inside her avatar, and Khonshu says to them, "The only way to end this is to take him out. You have to do this." And they just say, "Nope, not doing your dirty work anymore. We did what you said." And he specifically does say, because Khonshu is a bit of a dick, I think it's fair to say, "Once you do this, I will release you too." So a little bit foreshadowing in that.
Definitely. Yeah, I said Country. Hey, like I said, he's still up to no good, but we still love Country.
We do. Grudgingly, we like him. And then we then flip back to pretty much the end of the scene. So we find out that this is pretty much, again, we think it's in his mind, and he decides this is it. Enough is enough. I'm going to break out of this, and that's what he does. And we end up pretty much back where we started, where he's back in bed, and we think everything's normal and everything. He's free of Khonshu. He doesn't have these personalities anymore. He's free to kind of continue his life. But that's not quite the case. Now, strangely enough, we do have a post-credit scene with Harrow, which I thought was quite a nice idea. So he is now in the mental home. He is being taken care of, we think, until this mysterious stranger arrives.
Yeah, very. Again, post credit. I have a little issue with Marvel doing this, where you end the series basically with the scene that we kind of saw first episode, Steven waking up, chained to a bed, right? So I was like, okay, the symmetry. It's like, okay, I kind of get, but then they go to this post credit scene, which is kind of important, as far as what they're doing with that, and it's a very weird approach to put an important scene in a post credit. And that wasn't really what I was looking forward to.
It was a bizarre one, wasn't it? Yes, and I'll just kind of share this back again, just to kind of give the big reveal. But it is a weird one that they chose to do. I was like, and I can't remember, because I didn't, I've got to admit, watch all of the previous shows. Is this something that they've done in the past with their final episodes? Did they do post-credit scenes?
I want to say, I'm trying to think with WandaVision, did we get the Darkhold as a
Yes, we did. Yes,
so
that's true.
So this and that's a big, and for people who no spoilers, but Multiverse of Madness, Darkhold is a pretty big part of that film. To have it as a post credit, I guess Marvel was kind of feeling themselves a little bit like, yo, you're gonna stay for the credits, bro. So we're gonna put whatever we want, important story plots in the post credit for the series now. So yeah.
And this one, I don't know. I think for me, it was a little bit of a letdown. We finally do see our third personality, which we kind of knew was going to be the case all along. We see Jake Lockley, and Khonshu, true to his word, he let the two personalities go, but it doesn't matter because he still has a third one to do his bidding.
I tell you, this should have been episode 3, but okay. I'm just saying, this reveal. Why are you waiting more than? Because I'm going to treat this as more than 6 episodes. Because this is a post-credit scene that we
Mm-hmm.
finally see that third personality, Jake Lockley. We all suspected this since really, like I said, like episode 3. I was like, okay, something's going on because it's not Mark, it's not Steven murdering people, it's Jake. But why are we waiting this long? That's a little upset about that.
Hmm. I think it could have been handled better, and I don't think it was the massive, reveal that they could have had. I think people were just kind of, okay, get to the point. We know that Jake Lockley's supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be around, so what impact does he have? And we kind of now know. And as far as I'm aware, there isn't any plans for a second season of Moon Knight. But I think Oscar Isaacs is open to the idea of it. I don't think this is the last we've seen of him. I think perhaps we will see cameos, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I guess I'll give the scoop to the Purple Valkyrie Rise and Shine channel here. If people have not followed my channel yet, it's SYL ABDUL INC. I do a lot of work with Mikey Sutton, and actually just at the time of this recording yesterday, he reached out to me about Moon Knight. There's a lot of buzz about. Everyone loves Oscar Isaac, and we do too. Me and Purple do as well. We want
Hmm.
to see him do more. He's open, as you say, Purple, to do more. It's been very open that they're not doing a second season of Moon Knight. So where's Moon
Hmm.
Knight going to show up? Well, Midnight Suns is the end game, or at least the next path for the Moon Knight character. Midnight Suns, that would include Blade, that would include Werewolf by Night, and other mystical
Yes.
characters, and some street characters as well. So stay tuned on that. That's I guess a little scoop for the channel there. So Midnight
Nice.
Suns is happening with Moon Knight.
That is awesome. I think he's too good a character to not use again. So if we're not getting a second season, I think that is a fantastic kind of compromise. So that is one to look out for. Before we wrap up, what would be your kind of if you're going to give an overall score to the season that we had? What would you give it?
I'll give it a solid 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Because I use a 5 point scale, but on, because it's not negative, like it's not overall negative, but I can't, there's things that kind of the momentum of this season series. They had great upward momentum first 2 or 3 episodes. Halfway through the third episode, I kind of felt some troubling trends in the writing and the comedic aspect, and kind of nerfing
Hmm.
Moon Knight in the middle of a battle. It was very weird what they was doing. But
Yes,
it gets a passing grade for Oscar Isaac off point though. Yeah.
absolutely. That flipping back and forth with the comedic element really didn't work for such a serious character that they were trying to convey. But I would absolutely agree with that. I would, if we're going out of 5, I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 5. I like this episode, this season much more than I expected to. I really like the character. It's made me want to go and read the comics now and really kind of find out more about him. And I thought the cast were fantastic. So on the whole, for me, this is the best MCU show that we've had.
Definitely a positive. So definitely, it is like you said. I echo what you say. This is the best series, MCU series we've seen on Disney Plus. So hopefully it's only upwards from here. You got Daredevil, Punisher
Hmm.
potentially coming. So let's keep going up. Let's not, we can't go back right now. You got a positive, this is something I can rewatch. I can rewatch this as a 6 hour epic. But we gotta keep going up from here.
Absolutely, yes. And I think because we've enjoyed doing these reviews so much, I'm really looking forward to whatever else comes up next to do these reviews. So a huge thank you to SYL for doing this with me.
Definitely, this was fun. I think it was nice again just to kind of see bounce ideas off each other, and I just got to figure out what else Purple likes, and we'll be over here or on my channel either way.
Absolutely. So, guys, keep an eye on both channels because you never know when we're going to start another review series. A huge thank you to SYL for being such a fantastic co-host and riding this crazy journey, this crazy roller coaster of Moon Knight with me. If you liked it, please let us know in the comments below, and we will see you very, very soon. Thank you.